speaker with us, Dr. Sushil Gupta sir. We now move to our next keynote address speaker, Dr. Sushil Gupta sir, who is a former chairman of the Central Groundwater Authority, who will connect the groundwater science, regulations, and the national policy priorities, and outline why groundwater must sit at the heart of India's water security strategy. Dr. Gupta brings deep regularity insights and a national perspective to this critical issue. I wish Dr. Gupta kindly be, okay, you are here only, sir, and let me enlighten the sessions with groundwater as a cornerstone of India's water security strategy. Sir, please.
Very good afternoon to all of you. And thank you very much, Dr. Jain, for inviting me over here to present my views before such an august gathering. And also, many congratulations on completing 40 years of such a fruitful and meaningful existence in the world of science, and especially groundwater, of which I think many of us live in groundwater, not literally. So, groundwater is the cornerstone of water security. This is a very unique kind of a subject, I would say, because most of us see only surface water on the surface, so many rivers and dams and everything, and groundwater is the invisible hidden resource that we see only when we go to a village and see the farmer pumping out groundwater. Otherwise, the water, even if groundwater is coming to my house, we don't see that it's being pumped. We just know that it's coming through a tap. So when we talk of water security, what is water security? So I could tell out a definition from the United Nations, in which three words are very important. Sustainable. It should sustain over the years, not just 1 year or 2 years. It should be in adequate quantity and of acceptable quality for all of us. Now, once we have that, that means we feel that we are secure in water. But then, after security, we need to have a governance system to govern that various management options that we have. So, all these three, I would say, security is not an isolated kind of a management system. It has to be governed, and the system management systems are also need to be there. They need to be there in place so that everything works in conundrum with each other and never fails. That is where we will achieve security. Now, first, I'd like to take you through what are the water resources of India. I'm sorry, I'm talking only in the context of whole India, not especially Rajasthan. Rajasthan, we know, if you talk of India, Rajasthan is highly stressed area as far as water is concerned. So, the one negative part is that we do have about 4,000 billion cubic meter of water in various forms, snow, rivers, rainfall, groundwater in the country, out of which only 1137 BCM is the net utilizable water. The rest of the water is either not is in the form of snow, or it flows away to the sea, or it is not, we cannot capture it in any mode. Out of this 1137, about 691 or 690.1 is surface water, and the remaining is groundwater. If you come to see the figure in red, that is 209 cubic meters, that is the per capita storages that we have created in India so far through various dams. If you compare it with US, which is about 2,000, Australia, which is about 3,000 and odd, so overall, we are very poor in creating water storages as of now. The total surface water out of the 690 that we utilize is about 450, and the groundwater, which is 446, we are utilizing only about 245. So I would say in a way that we do have water, but we have not sufficient utilization in terms of trying to build various storages, dams, etc., because all the good sites have been covered. Now all the sites that are left are very difficult to cover. So this is the projected demand. There are two major theories in this. One is by the Standing Committee of Ministry of Jal Shakti. The other is National Commission for Integrated Water Resources Development. And they have projected a low scenario demand and a high demand scenario. As per that, these are the various things. As per NCI-WRD, 1180 million cubic meter will be requirement in 2050. Whereas as per the Ministry of Jal Shakti, it will be something around 14,047 billion cubic meters in 2050. So this is the earlier slide showed you what is the amount of water that we have. This is the slide showing you what is the demand per capita per annum. Sorry, total demand per annum. Now if you go by this is the most interesting part. If you see the energy consumption is going to improve manifold. It's right now only 0.5%. Only the energy requires only 5% of the total water requirement in the country. Whereas in 2050, it will go to 9%. Right now, we are using only about 3 BCM water in energy, sorry, 3 BCM, and it will go to up to 130 BCM. So energy, and in this, I'm very sure that they have not accounted for the water that is required for the data centers, the cooling of the data centers, which is increasing many-fold, especially after coming of the AI. The amount of water, I'm very sure they have not built into this. The demand for energy sector will increase many-fold. This I'll skip. Now this is a very interesting slide if you see. As per the Government of India, various districts, they have said that per capita water availability in 2050 would be 1228 cubic meter per year. This is based on the average annual water resources available. Whereas the utilizable resources are only 1137. The rest of the resources they are not able to tap. So if I work out the per capita requirement or availability as in 2050, based on the utilizable resources available, it will be only 698 cubic meter per year, which is a very stressed condition as far as water availability is concerned. Now, our topic is groundwater today. So, coming to groundwater, Central Groundwater Board and the various state governments calculate the groundwater resources of the country every year. The calculation is done only for the dynamic resource. I'll come to that slide, probably the next slide. So as of now, 2024, the annual groundwater resources dynamic resources were about 447 billion cubic meter. And the stage of groundwater development in the country was about 60.5%. If you see, the overexploited blocks are only about 11% in the country. Safe blocks are almost 73%. So this is concentrated only to a very, very small areas in the red that you can see on the map. The northwest India, western parts of India, and few states in the southern parts. So not much is overexploited. Only 11% blocks are overexploited and 3 are critical. I will not go into this because I have a time limitation. Now please, in case you can see from there, this particular slide, the dynamic resource that we work out every year, which you read, that India has reached 60% stage of development. Just now, Dr. Jain said in Rajasthan there are 200 odd overexploited blocks. That is the assessment only of this topmost. You can see there's a written average post-monsoon water level and average pre-monsoon water level. The water level that rises due to rains and various other features between pre-monsoon and post-monsoon. This is the estimation of only that much of groundwater. The 400 and odd BCM that we talked about, or the 200 odd overexploited blocks in Rajasthan, that pertains to only this much of water, the difference between the pre-monsoon and the post-monsoon. There are aquifers below that, even the topmost aquifer. This is the dynamic resource. Then we have in-storage resources. In the first aquifer, the second aquifer, the third aquifer. Just for an example, I have quoted here Punjab. In Punjab, the dynamic resources are only 20.73. BCM. So if you see Punjab, dynamic resources are 21.58 and the stage of development because of that becomes 166%. But if I consider the resources up to 300 meters in Punjab and the in-storage resources, the stage of development is only 11%. So we have groundwater at deeper levels, or rather at even the shallower levels in the unconfined aquifer, the topmost aquifer also. But as a policy, it's not a law, but as a policy, as per the national water policy, the government says, please don't develop those resources, whereas there is no restriction on that, except by various groundwater authorities in the state. They may impose a restriction, but they have not so far imposed any restriction on the depth of the tube well. They have imposed a restriction on the quantum. You can draw only this much, or you'll have to pay this much if you draw this much. But nobody says that you can't go 400 meters or 300 meters, or you go only 60 meters, except for Maharashtra. So what I'm trying to say here is that we have enormous ground resources, but again, don't take it in that way that you should withdraw it. Ideally, you should not. But in case required, yes, these resources are available. Now there are some issues with groundwater. Of course, everything has issues. The first and foremost, you can call it an issue or you can call it a blessing in disguise, is omnipresent. Groundwater is virtually everywhere. That is why everybody wants to tap groundwater in his field, in his house, in his factory, everywhere. Surface water you have to transport from long distances, create structures to bring it to your house or farm or whatever it is. It is privately owned. If it's my home or it's my field, I basically own the groundwater. That is a concept that we have over here in India. And the topmost level keeps on going down. So a small farmer feels the heat because the water level in his shallow tube well goes down. He can't afford a deeper tube well. His tube well goes dry. The richer farmer keeps on pumping water, even if it belongs to the smaller farmer. These are some issues that I've highlighted here. Then we have the climate change problem also, which is going to come. And because of that, we may have so many issues about salinity ingress management sitting there. We'll have more of salinity ingress. We'll have quality issues. We have less recharge because there will be so much of rainfall that there will be no time for it to get recharged and things like that. So what to do? You see, here I have come out with very, very small things to make groundwater more secure, very frankly, which normally we don't think in our daily life, but they are very, very important when you talk in numbers. One is that what is a unit of planning? When I go to a department and I start talking about water, somebody says, इस बेसिन में इतना पानी है. Somebody will say, groundwater person will say, no, इस block में इतना पानी है. When I go to industry, मेरे area में इतना पानी है. You want to schemes हैं, some scheme is basin based, some scheme is block based, some scheme is industry based, some scheme is something based. So there is no commonality. Every department, every ministry, there are 9 ministries at the Government of India level which are dealing with water. Every ministry thinks it's in own way without having a common unit to plan for. I have proposed that the water planning should be done on a watershed basis, not a basin basis. Ultimately it will be basin, but basically on a watershed basis. Some or other, most of you groundwater experts will argue with me that groundwater does not behave in a watershed fashion, but I would say that the topmost aquifer does, by and large, to that extent. So I would propose that unit of measurement and planning should be the same all over the country. It will be easier to fix and achieve targets with every department. The unit will be the same. Provision of funds can be there from a central source. Okay, this scheme will get so much of money. Execution and monitoring will be easier. It will be easily quantifiable, anything that you do. And there will be no duplicity. Many times what happens is many departments are working towards the same goal in the same block, doing something different but for the same goal. So everything gets duplicated. So I won't go into the watershed definition. So the unit of measurement as well as planning should be a watershed for all programs, activities that require water as a major component. Now we already have a watershed atlas on WRI's, which is the Government of India website. There is a watershed atlas on that, and all the watersheds of the country have been delineated very nicely. That can be taken as a base because it's a Government of India document. So in this, what we need to do is that first of all, we need to assess the water resources that are available in a particular watershed. And by water resources, I mean to say even include the wastewater in that. Because wastewater now needs to be considered as a resource rather than a waste. So that is a must. And then second step would be to assess the need for various purposes. What is the availability and what is the requirement in that watershed for various purposes. The next step is whether now we come to know whether that watershed is water deficit. Does it require more water for completing its requirements, or is it water surplus watershed? In a water deficit watershed, we go by various methods to save water. First of all is make water more efficient. All efficient use should be there. Grow crops which are less water consuming. Arrest your water losses, whatever it is. I'm not talking of any supply side management over here, by and large. I'm talking in the water deficit, this thing only demand side management options. And also explore the possibility of importing water from a nearby water surplus watershed, like we are doing in river linking right now. That's what we are doing. You are bringing water from a water surplus basin to a water deficit basin. So I am talking that in a watershed scale, which is a much smaller scale. And if it is a water surplus basin, watershed, then you have various methods. Either increase your agriculture, do artificial recharge so that the neighboring watershed is helped, or transfer water to the water deficit watershed. Sorry, I have shut it off. So this will, the major thing is that it will avoid any duplicity that is happening. Targets will be fixed through a central mode, whatever it is. It can be at the state level, the watersheds falling in that state, the state department, a particular department dealing with watersheds will control. Every scheme, etc. will flow through them only. So ultimately, what I am trying to say is that this will help when we talk of security. It will help me achieve security at the watershed level and ultimately at the basin level and ultimately at the country level. Now here are some of the points that I was going to tell earlier, that how do we go, like now we keep on talking about depletion of the groundwater resource, how do we go towards resilience to enhance the groundwater security. And here I am talking only about the demand side management because we have our colleague from CGWB earlier, Dr. R.C. Jain, who is probably going to talk about artificial recharge. So I'm not going to include that in this. This is, in a way you can say, my brainchild. While Dr. Jain introduced me, he told me I was with the Punjab Water Development Authority for 4 years. There we started this concept of water credits, that we encourage industries to do water conservation, and in case they were doing water conservation, we told them that you will be given a water credit of ₹2 50 paisa per cubic meter of water saved. So they were to pay groundwater charges towards groundwater withdrawal, and so much amount of the water saved, their bills were reduced by that much amount. So this was one thing that we introduced in the Punjab Authority. It is there working. This is the other thing that which was, it has not been done anywhere so far, but this is again a thought process that we allocate, like you see, we keep on asking the farmer to change his crop, which normally they will not do. It's very difficult for a farmer to change his crop because it's so entrenched in the facility that he knows I'm going to get this much profit, this seed from here, this everything, they don't change. So what we propose that whatever he is growing right now, and based on his land holding, we allocate, okay, this particular crop, this much land holding, requires this much of irrigation water, and so much of irrigation water, this much pumping will be required. So what is the energy required to pump that water? We allocate that much energy to him for 3 years or 5 years or whatever. If he saves any water or rather any energy over and above that allocation, he gets a credit for that. He may change his crop to a less water consuming crops for his incentive, and he will get even more credit. So this is a all win-win situation, but we could not build the cat over there because of certain reasons. But this is one proposal that you can consider for Rajasthan. Maybe start with some pilot blocks in 1 or 2 blocks and try it. I think it's going to be successful because you're not asking the farmer for anything except for putting a meter in his power supply and allocating him. You're not telling him he don't grow this or don't use the electricity. You're open to him. If he wants to save, he'll save. Then another was the water rating like we do in your energy appliances. I still remember about 25 years back when this star rating started in appliances that we use, geysers and ACs, and we never bothered. They're expensive. I have to pay 2,000 more for the same appliance. Why should I? Now everybody is looking for a 5-star appliance, isn't it? Not. So why not have it in the water guzzling things like rice, basmati rice? We export so much of basmati rice. We're exporting billions of cubic meter of water every day, virtual water. So why not have star rating over there? And I'm very sure the Western people are very conscious, more conscious than us about the environment. They'll buy in leaps and bounds. Have it slightly more expensive so that the farmer is incentivized. Leather goods. Ladies carry bags worth lakhs of rupees. So they do not know how much water has been used. If you have the 5-star rated leather bag, they'll be very happy and display it also. Okay, I'm carrying a 5-star rated bag. So that was one concept that I want to throw to this August gathering. The other was water credit trading. The water credit that earlier I said rupees 2 and 50 paisa, that can be traded. And I was talking about this. I have been talking about these things in the last 3-4 years. Now October 25 in Gujarat, this universal water registry has been launched officially. They have now started trading water in India also. Wall Street started about 2-3 years back. Now Gujarat, India has started doing this. You can now, anybody saving water can start on this trade water as a share. So you see, we have to think differently now. Rather than only saying do this, do that, we have to start thinking has to change altogether. Now, this is my favorite, the water use efficiency. This is the Government of India data, there are the slide unhi ki hai. As per the Central Water Commission, in case we improve just 20% in water use efficiency, we can save in surface water irrigation 68 BCM, in groundwater irrigation 44 BCM water, just by improving 20% efficiency. How much water is that? It will provide drinking water to half the country. And the problem is, I'm being very frank, that there is not much money involved in this. This is not a construction project. This is not a civil project. This is just my pump, my way of irrigation, my way of arresting conveyance losses, etc. I'm coming to that also. You see, in case I save just 10% in water use efficiency, by water use efficiency, I can irrigate another 14 million hectare in the country. Assured irrigation. Okay. Another thing is energy. We never talk about energy in the groundwater sector. To pump water from a particular depth, it requires energy. The depth keeps on increasing, the energy for the same amount of water, pumping the energy requirement keeps on increasing. And for producing energy, we require water. So it's a cycle, groundwater energy nexus. So how we should save energy? Why should we talk only about saving water? If we save energy, we'll save water. So we construct millions of tube wells. We have 13 million odd tube wells in the country. All are very poorly designed. When you pump a tube well, the drawdown happens. The drawdown has two components. One is because of the aquifer. Aquifer is bad, number one. The other is the well that you have considered is of very poor efficiency because it has no design. No scientist has designed that you well. Simply drill a well, put a assembly and pump out water. The drawdown is very high. So when the drawdown is high, you require more energy. If it is a scientifically designed tube well, the same well will have definitely less drawdown, less maintenance, and it requires less energy to pump. And millions of tube wells, how much energy you will save, and indirectly how much water you will save in producing that, not producing that energy. Next is again water pumps. Again, we have almost 14 million agricultural pump sets, and agriculture uses 17% of the energy in the country. 52 billion kilowatt hours of energy we use every year. The pumps that we use are hardly 20 to 30% efficiency. If you improve the irrigation pump efficiency, we will save so much of energy. These are very small things, but on the whole scale, they are huge. Community pooled irrigation, this is not very popular. This will work in Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, only 3 states in the country, I know that. Water saved, energy saved, water saved. This is all a circular, water energy nexus. Value of water, we do not know. The farmer, me, you do not know. We are paying our drinking water bill, no problem. But actual cost क्या है उसकी मेरे को पता होना चाहिए. Don't take that cost from me, no problem. Don't tax the citizen by way of charging more money, but at least I should be aware कि पानी में जो यूज़ करो कितने का है, so that I am more conscious of using it. This is all. Capacity building, data is a must. That data should be in public domain and a very good this thing. Every, like WRIS, which is a government of India website, is very difficult for a person like me also to access various data. एक फार्मर क्या करेगा, एक कॉमन मैन क्या करेगा, पानी का डेटा, because everybody is using water. So the data which is usable for the farmer or a common man, I'm not talking about the deep scientific data, but that data should be very easy for me to assess, access and analyze for myself. So that is a must. बाकी तो मैंने लास्ट में measure and manage at a watershed scale, that is a must. I think that's all because I received the note also. So
Thank you so much.